Good morning, everybody. My name is Elena, and I'm the founder of the Kids Table, and I'm very excited to be here with you this morning to make breakfast skillets. First of all, is anybody there going to be cooking in their pajamas this morning? I thought about wearing my pajamas today, but I've been wearing them pretty much all week, so I decided to get dressed. Thank you for giving me an excuse to do that. So first things first, if you haven't already done so, you should wash your hands. It's always the first step when we're cooking. So, and of course, if you have long hair like me, put your hair up before you wash your hands. And then make sure to keep your hands clean while we're cooking, okay? So if you touch your face or put your fingers in your mouth because you're tasting something delicious, that's cool, but then take a break, wash your hands. Okay, so first things first, let's go over our ingredients for our breakfast skillet. So we have, first on our ingredient list is potatoes. The recipe calls for Yukon Gold potatoes, which is like an all-purpose potato, so in between starchy and waxy. They didn't have Yukon Gold potatoes when I went to the store today, so I got a white potato. So see, little potato right here. Then we have, we have oil next on our list, so have some sort of high heat oil. We have sunflower oil here, but you can use like grapeseed oil or canola oil, avocado oil. And then we've got a red bell pepper, okay? And it says a small onion, so something about that size. And we've got garlic. And let's see, eggs. Very important for our breakfast skillet. We've got 4 eggs and milk. You don't have to put it in a container like us, but makes it easier to pour. And then we've got salt and pepper. Got those over here. And a little bit of butter. So just a small pat of butter. I've got about 3/4 of a tablespoon or so. And last but not least, 2 ounces of cheese. So we're gonna see this when we grate it, but 2 ounces of cheese should grate out to be about 1/2 cup, because if you don't wanna get out of scale, we have a kitchen scale here, but I know not everybody has one. So we're gonna see if my 2 ounces of cheese measures out to be 1/2 cup. Okay, it'll be a little experiment. All right, so that's all of our ingredients. So now we can go over our tools. We have cutting board, and if you have some of our handy dandy choppers, we'll be using that today. We have a grater for the cheese, and I forgot to go over our last ingredient. So it's herbs, a small handful of fresh herbs. So we didn't have a lot of fresh herbs laying around at Kids Table, and instead of going out and buying some, I found a little bit of chives in my garden. Chives are one of those great herbs that come back every year, so I was very happy to see these guys poking out this morning when I was leaving my house. So I got just a little bit. If you don't have any fresh herbs, it's okay. It'll still be delicious. And then scissors for snipping our herbs. You can also tear them with your fingers. And we've got a bowl and a whisk for whisking up our eggs. And then we've got a pot with some salted water in it. So go ahead and set that up if you haven't done so already, because we're gonna boil our potatoes after we cut them up in some salted water. The reason you wanna salt the water is, it's actually a few reasons. One is salt helps the water boil faster, so you don't need as much heat to boil the water. And then also potatoes really absorb a lot of flavor, so the salt in the water will make your potatoes taste a little bit better. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn my water on to bring that to a boil. And now we can, you also need a skillet, by the way, since we are making breakfast skillets. So just as large of a skillet as you have would be great. So hopefully you can cook everything in one batch. You'll also need a colander for draining your potatoes and some sort of high heat spatula for turning them around in the pan, and then a spoon for serving. All right. So first things first is we're gonna get our potatoes chopped up. So this is a little magic. This looks like a whole potato, right? But no, what? I already cut it up a little bit. I cut it into slices about 3/4 of an inch thick because we want to cut our potatoes into 3/4 inch cubes, so little squares. And this way, if you guys are using the choppers at home, you're not going to want to chop through a whole potato. It'd be pretty hard with the chopper. So your adult helper can use a chef's knife and cut the potatoes into slices like this. And then you'll use the chopper to cut them into cubes, okay? So go ahead and get your chopper out. Again, like Ms. Anastasia showed you guys yesterday, you want the longer end of the chopper to be facing away from you. So much easier. So hold the chopper in the hand that you write with or color with, and then you just are going to press down into the potato. And if it's easier, you can always stand up. So you can really put your weight behind it. So first you can cut the potato into strips like this, and then turn the strip and cut it into cubes. And the chopper makes these nice little wavy cubes. It's very, very cute. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and cut all of our potatoes up. We have 4 of them. And it's okay if the pieces are a little bit different in size. They don't have to all be exactly 3/4 of an inch, but you don't want them to have really tiny pieces and then really big pieces because they'll cook at different rates. Okay. How's it going? You guys getting through these potatoes? I was thinking about doing some sweet potatoes in addition to the white potatoes, but I decided to stick with white potato for the recipe. But you could totally do this dish with sweet potatoes too.
Jeff was wondering if you can start again on the potatoes.
Oh, sure. So what we're doing, here, let me just get this one potato off my board here into a bowl. I can't show you, I could try to piece one of my potatoes back together. I cut them up in advance and put them in some water so they wouldn't brown. But basically I took each potato and I cut it into, I did 3 slices about 3/4 of an inch thick, okay? And then we're just gonna chop each slice into cubes. So again, we want the cubes to be about 3/4 of an inch thick. Doesn't need to be exact, but you know, it's a rough estimate. So then you take your potato slice and use your chopper to cut it into strips. And then you cut each strip again, you turn it and cut it into cubes.
Asher says hi.
Hi, Asher. All right, so keep chopping away these potatoes. I'm almost done with my second one here, I think. My water is already boiling. I did start it a little bit before and then turned it off, so it was already pretty hot. By the way, you might notice that we did not peel the potatoes. So we try to never, if we can avoid it, we really try to not peel our potatoes when we cook at Kids Table. Does anybody know why? Anybody know why we might want to leave the skin on? No, I'll tell you. Okay, I'll give you another minute to think about it. Give up? Okay. So we like to leave the skin on because the skin of the potato actually has a lot of the nutrients of the potato. So when you keep the skin on, your body is getting more from the potato. And another reason too is I think the potato skin is delicious. It gets nice and crispy when you fry it up. And also it's less wasteful. So you're using the whole potato instead of peeling part of it away and throwing it away or even composting it. Okay, we've got almost all of our potato done. Make sure you guys are using your claw technique with your other hand, so you're chopping with one hand and always keeping your fingertips tucked in like this. It's really good practice, really good habit to get into for when you start using a chef knife. Keep the tips of your fingers safe. And if you want, you can even put your strips, once you cut your potato into strips, you can kind of put them back together and together cut them all into cubes. It's like a little shortcut. Oh, I have just 4 slices of potato left. How are you guys coming along at home? What's everybody's favorite breakfast food? Do you guys like sweet breakfast or savory breakfast better? Savory means like salty. I'm a savory breakfast kind of person myself. So this dish with eggs and potatoes and cheese, this is right up my alley. Okay, just 2 pieces of potato left. Down to my last one. All right. So now, look at this big bowl of potatoes that I have, all chopped up. So now, I'm gonna pop these into carefully, okay, because I don't want the water to splatter up on me. I'm gonna carefully drop these into our boiling water, and we're gonna cook them for just 5 minutes. So the reason that we're doing this is because we wanna brown our potatoes in the pan. Ooh, there we go. We want to brown our potatoes in the pan, and if we put them in raw, which sometimes I have to admit I do at home, I'll just put them in raw because I don't feel like getting out a pot, boiling water and draining it and all that stuff. But it's a little bit hard to get the potatoes nice and soft and have them brown. Sometimes they'll brown faster than they will cook through, you know what I mean? So you'll end up with burnt outsides and still not quite cooked inside. So parboiling the potatoes like this, that's what this is called. So we're cooking them part of the way. That helps to get them cooked through a little bit, and then we go ahead and finish them in the pan and get them nice and browned on the outside.
Annabelle was wondering why we're going to be using butter later.
Oh, that's a great question. We're gonna cook the eggs in butter. So we're going to boil these potatoes, then we're gonna pan fry them with the peppers and the onions and the garlic in there. Then when we take that out, we'll cook the eggs separately, and we're gonna use just a little bit of butter as our fat to cook the eggs. Great, I'm gonna grab a spoon to get my potatoes completely under the water. Miss Anastasia, can you set a timer for me for 5 minutes?
We sure can.
Because we don't want to overcook the potatoes, because if we do, then they're going to end up really soft and mushy, and that's not what we want. We want them cooked through, but not soft and mushy. We're not making mashed potatoes, we're making breakfast potatoes. So we've got that boiling. Now we can, if you guys are ready, does everybody have their potatoes in the water? Little thumbs up from home if you guys are ready for the next step. Okay, there we go. We got a thumbs up, yes. Okay, so I'll go ahead and start talking about our next ingredient. We've got our pepper, red bell pepper we're using. You can really use any color pepper that you'd like. Does anybody know what other colors bell peppers come in? Anybody seen other colors of bell peppers? Maybe green ones? There's also orange bell peppers and yellow bell peppers. And one of my favorites is purple bell peppers. But I have to say, I was a little disappointed because the purple bell peppers turned green when you cook them, which I thought was a bit of a bummer. And there are even chocolate bell peppers. They don't taste like chocolate, they just look like chocolate. Which I think is a good thing, because I think a chocolate tasting pepper would be weird. Okay, so you're gonna take your pepper, and you would need to do this with a chef knife. What I already did is I cut it in half, took the seeds out, and then cut it into strips like this. Okay, so that's what you're gonna wanna do with your bell pepper, because again, the chopper won't do much on the whole pepper. You need to get it into pieces like this so that you can actually chop them up. And then what you're gonna wanna do with the slices of pepper is, I think it's easiest, because the pepper has skin on the outside. So it's easiest if you put the pepper on its side a little bit so that you can cut through the skin and the flesh of the pepper at the same time. So you're gonna wanna cut them into little cubes. Let's see if it says on here. It says a small dice. So a small dice is about, what do you say, Anastasia, about half an inch? A quarter inch. So ours is going to be a little bit bigger because my strips are about a ½ inch thick, and that's okay. So anywhere you can cut your peppers into between a quarter inch and a ½ inch is totally fine. So put it on its side and then use the chopper to cut your pepper into little cubes. So with our potato, we basically did a large dice, a 3/4 inch, and we're doing a small or maybe a medium dice with our red bell pepper. So just go ahead and cut through each strip. Ooh. See, when it turns on its side like that, the skin makes it a little harder to cut through. You can still do it, you just have to wiggle the chopper a little bit. But when it's propped up on its side like this, it just goes through really easily. You know, if anybody wants to, we can taste our bell pepper. Should we take a little taste break? Try not to touch your mouth. If you do, you're gonna go wash your hands, but you can just kind of pop the pepper in. I would say very crispy, very fresh, juicy, delicious, a little sweet. Did you guys try it? Do you like it? Okay. Making our way through our pepper here. How's our timer looking for those potatoes? Ooh, almost done. So we're gonna have to take a break from our pepper chopping to drain our potatoes. Okay, I'm about halfway through my pepper. How are you guys doing? I'm really glad I like pepper now. When I was a kid, I did not like peppers at all, or onions. Can't even believe it, or mushrooms. But now I love all of them. That was our timer, so I'm gonna take a break. I have a few more pieces of pepper left, but I'm gonna turn this off, and I'm gonna pour this in the sink over a colander to drain the potatoes. And then right after I drain the potatoes, I'm going to rinse them under cold water. Oh, thank you. Oven mitt would be very helpful. I'm gonna rinse them under cold water to stop the cooking. I rinsed our potatoes, so they're still steaming just a little bit, but I rinsed them a fair amount. Let me see. They're just barely warm, so I think it's okay to leave them like this. And I've just got the colander set over a bowl so that the water that's coming off the potatoes has somewhere to go other than all over the counter or the table. So, put that to the side for a minute. If you want, you can try one of the potatoes now that they're parboiled and see what that's like. Really good. And I can taste the salt a little bit in the potato from the salted water. It's delicious. They're gonna be even better once we fry them up in some oil. Okay, so now I still have 3 pieces of pepper to chop. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish those. Okay, one more. Down to my last one. How are you guys doing on your pepper? Are you almost done with that? Okay. We have our nice pile of pepper, which is not a small dice. It's like a medium dice. Thumbs up. All right, you guys are good. So I'm gonna go ahead and push my pepper back onto the plate where I have all my ingredients here. You could have a separate bowl for each ingredient like they do on the cooking shows and stuff, but I'm a fan of not creating a bunch of extra dishes that I have to do later. So as long as you have a big enough plate where you can, you know, kind of scrape things off into the pan as you need them, I think that works just fine. So we'll go ahead and put our pepper right on that plate there. And now we're gonna cut up our onion is what's next. We're gonna go ahead and prep all the rest of our veggies at least, and then we'll get them cooking while we do get our eggs and our cheese ready. So I showed you before, this is an onion. So what you're gonna wanna do to prep it to use the chopper is, you know, cut off the both ends and then peel all the skin off, skin like that, peel that off, and then cut it in half lengthwise, okay, like end to end, and then put the flat side down and cut it into slices, or what we like to call little rainbows. So it's like a little rainbow of onion. This is always how we prep the onion for our classes, because then the kids can go ahead and use the chopper and cut each rainbow up, and you end up with little cubes, because we want a small dice for our onion as well. And I am gonna do our onion just a little bit smaller than our pepper. So you're gonna go ahead and use the chopper and just cut each rainbow up into little pieces. I'll show you what this looks like. So I don't know if you guys can see how big that is. That's what we're going for here. And you are gonna use the whole onion. Make sure it's, you know, not, sometimes you see onions and they're like this big, seriously. Don't use a whole onion that big. It says a small onion. So, you know, about 3 inches maybe in diameter. So just one rainbow at a time. Sometimes the very outer layer of the onion can be a little bit tough to cut through, but you can always wiggle the chopper back and forth a little bit, kind of like a saw. Make sure to always keep your fingers tucked in. Ooh, I've got two rainbows stacked on each other there. That's cool. Oh, the onion smells so good. Is anybody crying a little bit? My onion is not very strong. I am not tearing up at all, but the gases that the onion releases when you cut into it can sometimes make you cry. But that's okay, because tears are just our body's way of getting things out of our eyes, right? Because it's not like you're sad. I mean, maybe you are if your eyes hurt, but you're really just tearing up because your body's trying to get rid of the gases that are coming off the onion and into your eyes. So there are a lot of theories about how you can keep from crying when you're cutting an onion. Our favorite one at the kids' table, which, you know, it's hard to say if it works or not, but like, why not, is that the gases are attracted to moisture. And so typically your eyes are the most moist thing that's exposed in your body, right? So the gases are getting attracted to your eyes. But if you were to stick your tongue out a little bit, like that, then the gases would go to your tongue instead of your eyes. So if your eyes are burning, you can try that and see if it helps.
David suggests putting a little water on the tip of your nose.
Ooh, that also could work. Why not, you know? It might look a little better than, you know, cutting like that. The one thing you definitely do not want to do, I mean, we don't want to be touching our face anyway when we're cooking, right? Because that's not very sanitary. But you definitely don't want to rub your eyes if your eyes are tearing up from the onion, because then you're actually going to be putting the onion juices from your fingers into your eyes, which would make it worse.
Cynthia's trying sticking her tongue out or putting water on her nose. I'm not sure.
Oh, she's trying both.
Well, she's trying something.
Good. Okay, let us know if it works. Yeah. I've also heard that, you know, you can put like a toothpick in your mouth and that the gases would be attracted to the toothpick, or a piece of bread or something like that. Look at this big pile of onion, and we're only halfway done. This is a lot of onion.
David said it works.
All right. The water on the nose works. Okay, that's what someone said. So water on the nose. I'm gonna have to try that. I can't try anything because for some reason this onion is not making me cry at all. But I guess that's a good thing. Okay. Oh, got a little bit of a bigger piece there. That's okay. My chopper didn't quite get through. Okay, always scrape your stuff out of the way. Okay, I'm down to my last 4 rainbows here. Onions also come in different colors too, you know, just like peppers. Well, not quite as many colors as peppers do. But there are white onions and yellow onions. This is a yellow onion because the skin is kind of yellow. There's red onions, which the skin is really purple, but they're called red onions. Oh. And you can use any kind of onion in this dish. They all work really well. Oh, my cutting board is sliding around a little bit. If you have that problem at home, what you can do is put a damp kitchen towel or a paper towel under your cutting board, and that keeps it from slipping around. Which is very important. You definitely, especially if you're using a chef knife, you do not want your cutting board sliding around. It can be very dangerous. I might need a damp paper towel in this stage. My cutting board is just sliding around. I don't know what happened. Maybe it got a little wet. All right. So we've got our onion all chopped up. Look at this big pile of onion. I'm gonna go ahead and put this on my plate. next to our peppers. Oh. Okay. Wow, it's getting very full. Okay, are you guys good? Do you have your onion all chopped up? Are you ready for the next thing? Miss Anastasia just gave me 2 damp paper towels. I'm gonna pop these right under my cutting board here. Oh my gosh, so much better, look at that. Table's moving, but not my cutting board. Okay, thumbs up if we're ready to move on. Or hearts, I'll take hearts too. I'll just wait for one. Anyone? Hey, yay, thumbs up, okay. So now we are gonna move on to our garlic. So I showed you guys, this is a whole head of garlic or a bulb. And we need 3 cloves is what the recipe called for. But these garlic cloves are huge, okay? Look at that. That is a very large clove. So that's probably 3/4 of a clove at least. So, I mean, 1.5 cloves. I can do math, wow. 1.5 cloves of garlic, I would say. So I did 2. And you just want to cut the very top off. You can see that there's kind of like a hard, it's not really a skin, it's where it was attached to the root. So this is the root of the garlic here. So the top where it was attached, so the garlic grows like this, it grows underground. And then from here, you get the greens of the garlic. So that's the garlic scape that grows up. You might see them at the farmers markets in the spring. They're these cool, twisty green things. They're delicious. Definitely check those out. So you're gonna wanna cut the top part of the garlic off and then peel the skin off. And then I cut our garlic clove into slices, and that makes it easier. I mean, you can use a chopper on a whole clove of garlic. It's totally fine. But we usually cut them up into slices so everybody can have a few slices of garlic. So we're gonna put all of our sliced garlic on our cutting board. And we diced our potatoes into large dice, our peppers and onions into smaller dice, but we need to mince our garlic because garlic is delicious. It's actually probably my favorite ingredient ever. But it's very strong. So we don't want really big hunks of garlic because it would just be overpowering. So first, we can just cut these slices into smaller chunks. It's almost like a small dice kind of, except they're not really squares, but whatever, into smaller chunks. And then we'll take the smaller chunks and mince them. We're gonna cut them into really, really tiny pieces. So first, we cut it into chunks. Okay. Oh, it smells so good. Again, very sticky. The garlic is very, very sticky. And you can smell your fingers. My fingers smell like garlic already. It smells delicious. Okay, so we take our little chunks of garlic, scrape them all into the middle of the board, and then we can use our chopper to do what we like to call the little bunny hop chops over and over the garlic. You just have to be really patient over and over the garlic until it's really small, okay? And it'll bounce around a little bit, and that's okay. You just can keep scraping it back into the middle of your board. Like this, scrape, and then again, bunny hop chops over and over. Whoop. So we don't need to worry about, since we are cooking the garlic, like if you were doing this for a salad dressing or something where it was going to be raw, you would definitely need to make sure the garlic was in really, really tiny pieces. For this, we're still mincing it, but it's okay if the pieces aren't super duper tiny because we're cooking it. So cooking it, you know, brings out the sweetness in the garlic and really cuts the bite a little bit. So keep going over and over again with the chopper. Little bunny hops. Scrape it all into the middle. And do it a little bit more. Okay, I think we're almost there. I've got a couple big pieces still. So I'll make sure to get those, but then we're almost done. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys what this looks like. And, ooh, whoa, I've got one really big piece stuck to my chopper. Let me go ahead and get that guy. So, because the garlic is so sticky, it's going to stick to your chopper. And you can wipe it off, but just make sure that you wipe down the blade like this. Not up the blade, because the chopper blade isn't that sharp, but still, again, really good habit to get into when you start thinking about using a chef knife later. Always wipe down the blade. Okay, so we've got our minced garlic right there. It's looking so good. I'm gonna go ahead and put that. Now this, I wanna put, make sure I have it separate from the onion and the potato because, not potato, pepper, because it's going in later. It's not going in with the pepper and the onion. I'll go ahead and use my chopper to scrape the garlic off my board onto the plate. Okay, so now we are ready to start cooking our potatoes because we can get those going while we work on the stuff for our eggs. All right, let me grab my skillet. So here again, like I said, use the biggest skillet that you have because hopefully we can fit all of our potatoes in a single layer. That's what we want to do. So for this, let's check our recipe. I'm pretty sure we want to do this at medium-high heat here. Oops. Yes. So we're going to take our high heat oil. First, heat up your pan. So medium-high heat, because our potatoes are almost cooked through, so now we just really want to brown them. So get that pan going, and then we're gonna add, the recipe says 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm just gonna eyeball it, make sure we have a nice thin layer of oil in the pan. So we definitely don't want it to be in a pool of oil, right? But we wanna make sure the potatoes will be able to cook in the oil. The whole bottom of the pan should have a very light coat of oil in it. Okay. Then we take our cooled, our parboiled and mostly cooled potatoes here, and we're going to go ahead and add them to the pan. And hopefully, whoa, listen to that sizzle, they will all fit mostly in a single layer. Mostly. So I am just going to stir it to get them coated really quick, and then we're going to let it sit in the pan, and we're going to resist the urge to stir it, okay, because we want them to brown. Got our heat pretty high. Make sure they're spread out to be as close to a single layer as you can get them. And then we're going to let them sit for about 5 minutes. Okay, and while that's cooking, we're gonna go ahead and grate our cheese. Okay, so our cheese is gonna go into our eggs, and we'll crack our eggs in a few minutes. We'll do our cheese first. So, I've got a hunk of 2 ounces of cheddar. You can use any cheese that you want, actually. I thought about using Monterey Jack. That would be delicious. If you like spicy, like a pepper jack would be really good. You could use Chihuahua cheese. You could use mozzarella cheese if you wanted. You could use something like smoked Gouda. If you wanted a deeper smoky flavor, that would be really good. So you can cut the cheese if you want. This is a little over 2 ounces because I figured I'd want a little bit for tasting too. I'm going to cut it into 2 pieces. And then you can use a grater. We have our small graters here. If you're using a grater like this, you need to make sure you have the right side, right? Because one side has the blades pointing up. That's the side that's going to actually grate the cheese. The other side won't do anything. You got to make sure you have the right side and then know which way your blades are pointing, right? So the blades are pointing up, which means to grate the cheese, I need to slide the cheese down the grater, like a slide. So put the grater on your cutting board so that you can press into the grater to keep it steady and firm, so that with your other hand you can hold the cheese and press the cheese into the grater, okay? Make sure to keep your fingertips away from the grater and always watch what you're doing. Okay, if you get distracted, you know, it's a really good idea to have fun when you're cooking, but when you're doing something like grating or chopping, really important to stay focused and watch your fingers, right? Because if you don't, that's how accidents can happen. So go ahead and press the cheese into your grater and down. And you can see it makes nice little grates. And it's okay if you have a larger hole grater, if you're coarsely grating your cheese, that's totally fine. So as I mentioned before, we're using 2 ounces of cheese, but I'm pretty sure, like if you don't want to have to get out a kitchen scale, I'm pretty sure that that's going to be about a half a cup of cheese. I think it's about 1 ounce of cheese makes a 1/4 cup of grated cheese, but we're going to see if I'm right. So pressing into the grater and down, and when your cheese gets really small, you can eat it. Okay, don't bite off your cheese though while you're grating and then keep grating, because then you're sharing your germs with everyone. Sharing is caring, except when it comes to germs. We want to keep our germs to ourselves. Look at this great pile of cheese I have. I think I'm a pretty great grater. Are you guys great graters? Anastasia's laughing at me. Okay, so this piece of cheese now is pretty small, so I'm going to eat it. Delicious. I've got a half cup measure to see if I'm right about this cheese. Oh, maybe we'll have to pack it down for me to be right. Let's see. Okay, so that's 1 piece of our cheese. I think maybe packed it'll be a half a cup. I'm gonna grate the other piece now too. Yeah, it's been 5 minutes. No, I'll do it. Anastasia's reminding me to stir the potatoes. It has been 5 minutes. Exactly. Let me get my high heat spatula. Very important to use one. If it's not metal, if it's plastic, that can stand the heat. Oh, these look so good. So now they're nice and browned, our potatoes. So we're just gonna kind of flip them over. Wow. Let me see if I can show you guys after I turn them what it looks like. So see how they're nice and browned on one side, the side that was down. So now we're gonna let them continue to cook, but we are gonna stir them more often. They're gonna go for about another 5 minutes, but we'll stir them every minute or so. Okay. Returning to my cheese. So just still pressing into the grater and down. I'm really excited about this dish, by the way. I haven't had breakfast yet, so quite hungry. Okay, almost done with this. How's your guys' cheese grating going? Are you almost done too? All right, I'm down to my last piece of cheese again. Anastasia, do you want it? Yeah, there she goes. She wants it. I'm sharing. Is it good?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
It is
it's
good.
delicious. All right, so this is the rest of our cheddar. So it does, if you pack it down, it is a half cup, but packed, okay? So you can see what a difference it makes when you talk about a packed cup versus a not packed cup when it comes to cheese. So there, packed, it is exactly a half a cup. So if you don't want to have to weigh your cheese, there you go. You need a packed half cup of grated cheese. So we'll put that off to the side. So we're almost done with our cutting board. The one thing I'm going to do before, oh, let me stir my potatoes. Oh, these are looking really good. Okay. They need about 2 more minutes before we're going to add our peppers and onions. So now I've got my chives. Remember I told you I got some chives from my garden? I wish I had a little more, but I pretty much picked every piece that was more than an inch long. So I've got a set of scissors here, and I'm just going to hold these together and snip them into little pieces. Whoops. And we're going to toss these in at the end, but I just want to go ahead and do this so that I can get my cutting board out of the way, and then we're going to crack our eggs. Okay, so we're just snipping. And when you use the scissors, you know how to cut paper, same idea. You're just squeezing, putting your fingers in the little scissor holes and just squeezing. Snipping our chives into little pieces. The chopper just doesn't work really well on these. You can also break them with your fingers if you want. Okay, great. So, oh no, I need this. All right, put these tools, I'm done with these, in here. Put our chives right there. I'm going to stir our potatoes again, and then I'm going to add our peppers and onions. Very smoky. So if you have an exhaust fan in your kitchen, you should definitely have it on. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add the peppers and onions. Well, not the garlic, just the peppers and onions. Because that garlic, if we add it too soon, will definitely burn. So it's in such small pieces. And you know what? My pan's looking a little dry, so I'm going to add just a little bit more oil. All right, so we'll get these. Stir these up a little bit. We definitely want to stir these every probably minute or so as this cooks down. I'm just going to stir it all up to start, and then we'll get to our egg cracking. Oops, I just lost a piece of onion. Oh well, we have plenty. I wish you guys could come over for breakfast. We're going to have a lot. Anastasia and I are going to have some work to do eating all this. All right. Perfect. We'll let that go for a moment while we crack our eggs. So these eggs, by the way, you guys know what animal makes eggs? What animal lays eggs? I'll give you a hint. It makes a noise kind of like anyone? What animal lays eggs? How about a chicken? Other animals also lay eggs. You can eat duck eggs. They're a little bit bigger, delicious. Ostrich eggs, a little bit harder to find.
Elson came chicken.
Oh, great, perfect. So these eggs, by the way, they're local eggs. They came from a farm near Libertyville. So they're very delicious. The local eggs, you can, if you've ever had them, the yolks are usually brighter. They're really amazing. So if you can get them, I always try to get them. So, before we crack eggs, I'm gonna stir my veggies here again. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Cracking eggs. You're gonna hold the egg in one hand. I'm right-handed, so hold it in my right hand. And firmly tap it on a flat surface. So not on an edge. Like I used to think you tap cracked eggs by tapping them on an edge. Don't do that. Tap it on a flat surface. And then you'll have a crack. And then in the crack, you can put your thumbs in the crack and over your bowl, just pop the egg open. Kind of like a door hinge, right? Okay. Put the shell in a garbage bowl. Do the next egg. Whoops. I hit it a little too hard. Crack it open. If you get shell in there, don't worry, we'll get it out at the end. Do the third one here. Anastasia, will you stir my potatoes, please? I have eggy hands. Thank you. Fourth egg. Whoop. All right. So if you do get shell in your egg, you can use one of your egg shell halves to just scoop it out. And no worries if your hands get a little eggy, because they probably will anyway for cracking them. Mine did. And so then you can just go wash your hands. So I'm going to go wash my hands. Potatoes and onions and peppers are pretty much done. We need to add our garlic now. And just let that cook for another, like 30 seconds or so. We'll start to smell that garlic. We're also going to add then a little bit of salt and pepper. So you can just do, a little pinch of pepper and a little pinch of salt. Actually, we'll do 2 pinches of salt. 3 pinches of salt. It's a lot of potato. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and take this off the pan and put it in a bowl. Oh, and that's hot. I'll get my hot mitt. Turn my burner off for a minute here. So look at this. Nice brown veggies, potatoes, they look so good. So in the recipe, it says to transfer the this mixture to a colander or a plate lined with a paper towel. I would do that if it was just potatoes, but I think we're gonna change that because you really, it's like all the veggies and the little bits of onion and garlic will just stick to the paper towels, and it's not that greasy. Because usually you do that when you have a lot of grease to absorb, like if you're deep frying or using, you know, a much thicker layer of oil. We didn't do that, so you can really just put it in a bowl. Okay, great. So I am gonna ask Anastasia though to get me a new pan. So we also say to wipe the pan out, which you can totally do. I used so little oil that my pan is pretty brown, and I just don't want to cook my eggs in that. I don't think I'll be able to wipe it out. It needs to be scrubbed out. So if you can, stop your pan after after it cools a little bit, don't try to wipe it out when it's really hot. You can definitely do that because, like I said, I am not a fan of generating extra dishes. But here you go. If you have to start with a new pan, start with a new pan. Not the end of the world. All right. So we've got our cracked eggs, and we are going to add a little bit of milk. So when we mix milk into the eggs, it just makes our scrambled eggs a little bit fluffier, a little bit lighter. So we're going to do 2 tablespoons of milk. 1, 2, and we are going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Ooh, splashed a little bit. And then you can take a whisk or a fork. I use a fork all the time at home, and just whisk up the eggs really well. We're combining the yolks and whites and just whipping a little bit of air into this mixture so our eggs will be nice and fluffy. And by the way, if you don't drink milk or you don't have any milk, you can use, if you have cream, you can do some cream mixed with some water. You could use a milk alternative. I make cashew milk at home. I use cashew milk for this all the time. Just make sure whatever milk you use isn't sweetened, because some of those milk alternatives have sugar in them, and you definitely don't want to put sugar in your scrambled eggs. All right, so that's what our eggs look like. Oh, can you see? All right, so we are ready for the final step, which is scrambling our eggs. Are you guys with me? Are you ready? So this means we're going to be ready to eat in about 4 minutes. Very excited. Okay, thumbs up and hearts if you're ready to scramble your eggs. Yes, thumbs up, great. Okay, so we've got our little pat of butter. So you can use oil too if you want for scrambling the eggs, not a big deal. I do that at home a lot. You just want a little bit of fat to keep your egg from sticking your pan. So we're gonna put our heat on about medium. Let's see, yep, let's make sure the recipe says that, but it does. So medium heat, and then just go ahead and add the butter. Let it melt. And then once it melts, you're gonna swirl the pan around so that the butter cooks the bottom of the pan. Oh my gosh, it's almost noon. I've been talking for a long time. But hopefully the longer class makes it easier for everybody to keep up. All right. So in the recipe, it says to add the potatoes back to the eggs in the pan. Our pan this pan now is pretty small, but we've got our potatoes and everything in this bowl. And so once the eggs are done, I'm just gonna go ahead and put them in the bowl and toss them, because the potatoes are still really hot. So it's not like we need to worry about heating everything up again. Oh, this is gonna be delicious. So see, we've got our butter almost completely melted, totally coating the bottom of our pan. And then we're gonna add the egg. Oops. Ah, one of my egg yolks wasn't whisked up. That's okay. I just whisked it in the pan. Okay, so we're gonna let that sit for maybe 30 seconds or so to start, so the eggs start to firm up around the edges, and then we'll start stirring. And then right after we start stirring, we'll add all of our delicious cheese so that it gets kind of melted into the eggs. Let's see if I can clean up my workspace a little bit. Thank you. I hope you have as great a helper at home as I do here with Ms. Anastasia. All right, so the eggs are firming up around the edges. They're turning yellow, like a lighter, paler yellow around the edges. And So that's the sign that it's time to start stirring. Sorry for all the scraping noise, it's very loud. Okay, and now I'm gonna go ahead and add the cheese. And we're just gonna dump all, whoop, it's really packed in there. There we go. Dump all that in and stir it up so it's not like a big clump. You don't want a big clump of cheese. And since we're not putting the potatoes back in this pan, we want to cook the eggs until they're done. Right? I don't like my eggs too dry, but we definitely want to make sure they're cooked through. I'll show you guys what this is going to look like in a minute here. So here, these are still quite wet, so I'm going to let them go for about another 30 seconds or so. And then we'll stir them into our potatoes. And then the chives, we're just gonna sprinkle on top of each serving. I have very little. Other herbs you can use, by the way, are like parsley would be delicious. You could even do, I don't know, what do you think, Anastasia? What herbs would you use? Parsley, chives. You could use a little thyme.
Yeah, thyme would be good.
Yep, thyme's pretty strong, so if you use thyme, don't use too much. All right, so our eggs are done. I'm gonna go ahead and stir them into our potato mixture. Okay. I'm gonna use our spoon to toss it around. And then I'm gonna get a plate, serve this up. Cheesy eggs mixed with our crispy potatoes, peppers and onions. I'm gonna make myself a pretty big serving here. There we go, I'll make one for Anastasia in a minute, don't worry. She'll get to eat too, she was such a big help. Okay, and now we're gonna take our chives, sprinkle them on top, so beautiful. And here we go. Doesn't that look delicious?
It does.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoy. Send us pictures or post pictures. We want to see what you made. I hope you had a great time. And Monday morning, we have a whole schedule up for the next 2 weeks. Monday morning, Miss Anastasia is going to be making, what are you making with everyone?
It's actually you.
Oh, it's me. Ooh, it's me. That's cool. I'm going to be making something with you Monday morning. I feel like it's bagels with veggie cream cheese. But Anastasia's checking. We don't want to give you the wrong information. She's checking. Does your breakfast skillet look as delicious as this? While I'm stalling to let you know what we're making next. She can't find our website. Oh, you know when you try to do things really fast and it feels like it takes forever? That's what's happening right now.
We will be making.
Oh, she's got it.
Veggie cream cheese.
I was right. Bagels with veggie cream cheese. So hope to see you guys then. Thanks so much.